Hello and welcome to iCatholic. I'm Wendy Grace. Well, join me to discuss the results of a recent in-depth survey looking at Catholic schools and the ethos in Catholic schools, how it's understood, how it's taught, how we actually keep that ethos going, is Father Eamon Conway. He's going to tell us about the G.R.A.C.E report. Maybe, Father Eamon, just tell us a little bit about the report and its aims.
Yes, so Global Researchers Advancing Catholic Education, that's what G.R.A.C.E stands for. It's an international research project involving a whole range of people in Catholic education. And it was founded here in Ireland by Dan O'Connor, who still works in Mary Immaculate College, by myself and Eugene Duffy. And we decided we needed a benchmark research about the realities in Catholic schools, primary and post-primary in Ireland. We had a lot of anecdotal evidence, which turned out to be accurate, of course, that we're in a trajectory of decline in terms of the religiosity of our schools. But at the same time, we felt it was important to actually get hard data. So we're very grateful to something like nearly 4,000 respondents, teachers, principals, boards of management members, primarily other personnel in schools who engaged with us and give us a really good overview. And I suppose in bold terms, principals and teachers who are over 50 years of age are still very committed to the Catholic ethos and identity of the schools. Those who are younger are not, particularly those under 29, teachers under 29. If your child is currently in a primary school, this is just a concrete example, preparing for communion or confirmation, you have a 1 in 6 chance that the teacher preparing that child is himself or herself committed to their faith. And that's a direction in which really we're moving in our Catholic schools at the moment. So very serious steps need to be taken to address that. My own view is that probably a fifth of those working in Catholic schools are very committed to their ethos and identity, including many younger teachers and principals. About a fifth, to be honest, would probably prefer to work elsewhere. And then there's 2 or 3 fifths in the middle. We're very open, but we're not really nourishing them enough. We're not providing continuous professional development. We're not providing initial teacher education that really helps them to value the Catholic intellectual tradition, the Christian vision of the human person, in a way that touches them personally and actually helps them to live their own lives as faithful Christians, but then also to integrate that into their work. So I think this report, for those who have ears to hear, is a real wake-up call. Just like a couple of weeks ago, we had a solid wake-up call about the need to change diocesan structures. This data, I think, is equally a wake-up call that we need to change structures in terms of the number of schools and indeed how they're governed, how well we have an overview of and accountability in regard to Catholic ethos and identity.
Is it then a case of, because it's interesting obviously when you hear the fact that, look, that there's many teachers who are teaching children about the sacraments and they don't actually understand them themselves. They mightn't be interested really in them. So how can you teach really with passion for something perhaps that you yourself don't fully have a heart for? But is the answer then saying, okay, well, we can see that Catholic education is in decline, we have to accept that? Or what's your feelings on it? What should our response be?
Yeah, so I've mixed views on the issue of taking them out of the schools. I mean, frankly, a Catholic school can and should, it is part of the mission of the Church. So in my own view, certainly there is some element of preparation for the sacraments that can and should be taking place in the school. At least as importantly, if not more importantly, is the message that children get in a Catholic school should not be undermining the Catholic faith and offering perhaps an alternative worldview implicitly by how the school operates or what is taught in the classroom. So, there's no point in having Catholic schools if they're not at the service of the mission of the Church. That said, it probably is true that there should be a closer relationship between the preparation for the sacraments and the parish community. But I wouldn't be letting the schools off the hook of not having some contribution to make to the preparation of children for sacraments. That's my own personal view.
What about the teachers though, Father Eamon, and you're especially mentioning the younger cohort? I know certainly my experience, having interviewed lots of young people over the years from different backgrounds, is that perhaps those who are older might have understandable baggage or kind of knee-jerk reactions when they hear about, anything related to the Catholic Church and have a negative lens. But those who are younger, I'm thinking kind of the age cohort you mentioned, kind of early 20s and a little bit older, they are not evangelized. They don't really know their faith. And is that actually, rather than it being seen as a negative, an opportunity to say, there's a hunger there, and actually that cohort are quite open and eager to learn more. It's not that they don't want to know about it, it's that they just have not been presented what the church teaches and why in a way that's engaging to them.
In regard to the older cohort, if we can use those terms, I completely agree. I think we as a church failed to realise how teachers and indeed many others, parents indeed, who were so close to the faith and stood up for the faith, often in difficult circumstances, felt so hurt and horrified by the revelations in the Catholic Church. And we didn't reach out to them, I think, enough. We didn't actually give them time to speak about how they felt hurt. And they just, I won't say they turned on us, but they turned away. And understandably. And I think there's still healing to be done there. I think we were probably too wounded ourselves to realise that there were others that needed to be cared for at that time. And there's still a bit of work to be done there. I really believe that. You're absolutely right about the younger cohort. And to some extent they are, I think many of them are hungry. We live in an age now, if I can put it this way, that in the past, I think that older cohort of people, I think many religious sisters indeed too, felt hurt by church structures and so on. And they're the people now who are still in control of many of our trusts, who, felt that we had a form of truth or truth-telling that was suffocating. And I think that has to be acknowledged, perhaps it is true. Now, however, the crisis among many of our young people and many of our young teachers is that they find it hard to believe there's any truth at all, that there's anything worth staking one's life upon. I'm really interested that here and in Australia, where I also work, we have a crisis, not just in terms of religious vocations, but vocations to be nurses, vocations to be doctors, to be teachers, right across the spectrum. Anything that requires a very deep form of personal self-giving to others. We don't seem to be able to find it in ourselves anymore. And I don't know if we can find it ourselves if it's not rooted in some sense that we're given to be by a loving God so that we can give to be for others. So I really think we're in a profound crisis that is very different from a previous epoch. And therefore, within Catholic education, I think we need a new and renewed form of confidence that we have something to offer in the face of a very depersonalizing, technocratic approach to reality. And we need to find a way of adjusting to that and recovering our own confidence in it, not in an arrogant or pushy way, but very, very much a humble way. But nonetheless, I think a way that reaches the pain that is there for so many young people, as reflected indeed in the well-being crisis that we are facing.
Finally, just to ask you, Father Eamon, based on this very extensive report, as you said, over 4,000 respondents, what are some of the recommendations? What do you hope will happen following on from what you've learned through this research?
I'll sum it up in 3 words. Formation, formation, formation. We need to reach out to those who are willing, and there are so many of them, with proper continuing professional development for teachers, formation for members of boards of management, opportunities for retreats, for faith formation for young teachers, both increased supports in terms of the teaching of religious education from a Christian anthropological perspective, and so on. So much we really need to, and therefore if we can't do this properly with the amount of schools we have, and in the interest indeed of providing for those who wish an alternative form, then we do need to look at the issue of divestment. We do need to slim down, but have a number of schools that are intentionally committed to the Christian faith as available for those who want them and will reach out to them. And therefore, whatever agreement we reach with government, it has to be one that allows us to continue to offer and function with a number of Catholic schools that can be genuinely Catholic.
Well, Father Eamon Conway, thank you so much for joining us on iCatholic.ie, and you'll see on the link below where you can access the full Grace report if you want to learn more about it.